All right, good morning, everybody. TG here. And let's see, we're going to be talking a fair amount about the market and its craziness going up for almost 2 months now. And we've been at the very beginning of November, and then things just kind of took off. So, how long can we go? How long is this thing going to be going up? I do think I'm seeing some indications that this might be slowing down, but we're going to have to see what that actually means, whether it's going to be sideways or if we are going to get some sort of tough pullback. So let's kind of dive into a few things over here at profitpilot.com. If you guys want to scroll down, I was talking about, how low can the put call go? So let's dive into that and take a look. Let's get it over here. So one of the things that I was looking at was the put call ratio. And typically, when the put call ratio gets pretty low, that means that everybody is on one side of the boat and it's going to start turning the other direction. And for the most part, it's pretty consistent. It works generally, kind of tells you, hey, is the environment good or bad for long or short, whether the put call ratio is high or low. And we saw that it was down here, but the market continues to go up. In fact, underneath the surface, there are a lot of names that just kept exploding to the upside, which is great. But how long can we trust this for? Well, if we go back to 2020, or actually 2021 and all that, the put call ratio was definitely broken. And that we know this because I mean, look how much that actually stayed like even lower than it's ever been before. And this was pretty much because of all the new money that was coming in with the Fed and all that printing money and just injecting it into the economy, which then really kind of found its way into the market. And so that was unusual to say the least. And then if we take this and let me zoom this out a little bit. When we go back a little ways, we can see that there are other areas where the put call ratio was pretty low for maybe an extended period of time. We had that one, which was right there around, well, I don't have dates on this thing, but we had that, and you can see, I think that was 2017 or so. And then we came back a little bit forward, and here's another section here where the put call ratio basically kind of just bumped along the lows for a while. Now, as with most things with the market, nothing ever lasts forever. And so you can see that we did eventually get a spike the other direction, and same thing, we did get a spike the other direction. So for as much as this market is doing what it's doing, we need to understand that, well, it's not going to last forever. And we just have to be prepared for that and trade the things as long as they trade. And then when things change, just be okay with that. I do think that generally speaking, we are in a very strong market, and that when the market does decide to pull back, I do think that dips will be viable. Now, the question will be, what do those dips look like? How long are they going to last? Because at the end of July, I was saying the same thing, because you can see here at the end of July, the put call ratio also got low and the breadth got overly high. And I said that we should be expecting some sort of pullback. We need to see things reset. And little did I know that this was going to then turn into a 3-month pullback that then took the market down 10%. So we don't ever know really what we're in for. It's just that we know that we might be getting a little bit close to the end of this particular something, with the put call ratio and all that. Now, one little wrinkle that might kind of happen in this idea and whatnot is if we are really truly kind of in something different, because we have been in a bear market for 2.5, maybe 3 years, depends on what sector you're looking at, because we know at the beginning of 2022 is when the market, the S&P actually rolled over and the big names started to come down. But in, was it February of 2021, that is when the small caps got taken down. So they got taken down first. So it really kind of depends on where you want to look around and start the timeline as far as the bear market. Some things have been in it longer than others. And so with the market now making new highs and pretty much everyone now aware that the market is doing very, very well, they're going to get some FOMO, especially with the interest rates coming down, and basically risk-free cash will be less available because the market's doing well and interest rates are coming down. So theoretically, there should be a lot of money coming into the market. There's going to be just inflows. People are want to be coming to the market, start 2024 off with a bang, all that kind of stuff. They don't want to miss out. And so I wonder, And I don't think this is going to happen like right now, but I think this is something that we need to be watching because I want to see if maybe next cycle, something like that, if the put call ratio can actually stay very low for longer than we expect. I don't know if it's going to do this, but I could see something like that, and maybe even that when the market is actually in a really good bull mode because new money is coming in. Basically money from the sidelines. Because think about this: with how much the market has just gotten demolished underneath the surface. We saw the small caps just get absolutely pummeled. And then with interest rates getting raised and inflation, and we knew the market was going to roll over, and people thought the market was going to go down like 50%, that there was going to be a crash. It was going to be 2008 or 2000 again. Like a lot of fear was out there. So a lot of money left the market. And we have to think, what's it going to be like when that money starts coming back in? Which I think is probably going to start happening based on the the action we're seeing in November, let alone what we saw in 2023. Because 2023 has actually been really good as far as the let me kind of switch over now to a different chart. 2023 has actually been pretty good. Maybe not everything, not everything was coming along, but 2023 started right there in January, and we had a great move off January, and then it fizzled. And then we had a great move, May, mostly June, July, and then it fizzled. And now we're also having another great move. And we got to expect that at some point this thing's going to start pulling back. Okay, so we do need to be careful at some point in and around here. We know this. The market goes and then it takes a break. It goes and it takes a break. We just have to see what that break looks like. But I'm wondering on the next pullback, maybe to wherever, and then we start up again, that big move might be something that really is sustainable. And if new money really does start coming into the market, the indicators can't necessarily register it because this isn't money that's in the market already cycling around, and we can look at breadth indicators and we can look at the put call and that kind of stuff. This is new money that is coming in and distorting some of these indicators because the indicators are not accounting for them because they don't exist inside of the market. It's kind of like the Fed coming in and printing money. New money coming in from people as opposed to the Fed could have the same effect as the Fed printing. So yeah, kind of think about that. I think that is something to consider. Oh, Alan, nice. All the way back in Denver. Yeah, I know. I was only in Denver for 11 months. I actually thought I was going to put down some roots there. I also thought I was going to put down some roots in Austin, but lo and behold, here I am up in Washington. Yeah, nice. Alan, really do appreciate it. I'm glad you found me over here. Yeah, boy, it's been a while, hasn't it? So good. Yeah. Well, thanks for reaching out. I really do appreciate you kind of checking back in and seeing how I'm doing. And yeah, it's been a few years since we sat down and talked in Colorado. Yeah, doing well over here. But as I said, I was in Colorado for 11 months and then jumped over to Austin to work with Simpler Trading. And I think I was there for a little over a year. Then the pandemic hit and came up to Washington and never left. So my family's up here, and now I'm married with a wife up here. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. All right, brighter side, good to see you. Happy holidays to everybody as well. Yeah, it's the market conditions now opposite to where we were early October, right? Yep. Yep. Man, a brighter side, I got to say, it's been interesting, you and me emailing back and forth and talking about some of this stuff. Yeah, right? How about this market? And, I hope you weren't too short around October because I was like, I think we're kind of coming towards the end of it. And sure enough, I mean, look at this thing. Yeah, Bitcoin stocks are going nuts. We'll look at gold miners, and then let's see, QQQ, insane price action, and price at the third ATR for every single time frame in the 15-minute. Yeah, hourly, daily, weekly, and nearly monthly. I'm shorting here for that alone. Okay. I think eventually you'll be right. I mean, that's kind of what I started this whole conversation. Yeah. So we kind of started this whole conversation with today is that, yeah, at some point the market's going to pull back. We know that. But what's it going to look like? And I just want to put it out there that the market doesn't necessarily have to go down. It can go sideways, So here I would definitely argue that went sideways. But within that sideways market, there were a few days where it went down. You can see there was maybe what two solid days. Let me kind of really just zoom in on this. So you can see here, maybe that was a down day, that was a down day, and that was a neutral day. So we had a couple down here, then you bear flag, and then you go down. and that's really all you got. So it wasn't an uptrend. It was a solid uptrend. It needed to kind of correct itself, and then chop around a little bit, and then it went. So just putting it out there, we need to be careful about wanting to short something like this. Now, from a stock perspective, I don't think I really have that much of an edge. We could do leverage inverse ETFs. There are ways that we can make money on the short side with this, but I would argue that maybe those who trade options kind of actually have the leg up in this case, because all you have to do with options is say, I don't think price is going to go there, and you can sell some calls. And that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do. So yeah, I would kind of go that direction of selling some calls. Now, I do think that this is a little bit on the riskier side if you guys wanted to do this, because number one, nothing has turned yet. This market is still up. So I wouldn't quite want to do this without seeing a little bit more confirmation. And we're coming into, Santa Claus rally territory. We'll have to see about that. Now, of course, there can be a dip and then a move up, and then we come down, and this little move up right there could be considered the Santa Claus rally. I went back and studied a few years of basically December, and it can do something like that. So as long as there's basically a 4 or 5 day streak around the end of the year, people can consider that the Santa Claus rally. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, and it doesn't take much for people to be like, oh, there it is. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. So we also know sideways. The market can go sideways. We had the the market was very overbought. It was outside of the third ATR. It was off the 8 EMA, and what did it do? It went sideways to digest it, and then it continued up. And what you're pointing out is we're kind of in the same situation, right? These two things are the same thing. We're noticing the same situation, kind of third ATR off the 8, all that. And what's it going to do this time? Now, the other thing that I posted to the Moxie traders, I think this morning or yesterday, was this. So if we look here, the market digested the moves here because of the previous July high. And you can see that like right there. That's what it did to digest that. But now zooming out, now look where we're getting. Let me put my cursor here. We are now coming into the previous all-time high from 2021, 2022. I think that was actually January of 2022. Okay. And we're coming up there. So, what is that going to be like? That's probably going to be some natural resistance, especially after the market has run for almost 2 months. We're not quite there yet. We'll have to see what happens. And then, of course, yeah, if we look at the internals, let's look at, let's see, $SPXA50R. Yeah, where is this thing? It is absolutely freaking pegged, which is much higher than I expected this to go. Way, way, way higher. But how much higher can it go? It doesn't. It doesn't. Really, it doesn't go much over 90 if it can even get there. So yeah, we are just absolutely maxed out. We're pegged up there. We know the put call ratio is super low. It is a time to be careful. Yes, there are still stocks that are moving, and they're going to continue to move, but it is a time to just be careful because things have just gone through the roof. I mean, we look at Carvana, which, man, I was trading this thing. We were trying to get a position at about $31. $31, $32. I biffed that one hard. It chopped me out a couple times, and then I just couldn't quite have the guts to get into it again. So yeah, I left 88%. I don't even know if I would have gone that far. I probably would have gotten out here for probably 60%. So yeah, I left 60% on the table with that one. But these things are getting kind of ridiculous. They're getting really ridiculous. This again, if you look at this, is this a place that you want to, start getting long? No. If you weren't in this thing already, you got to just skip it at this point. It is not a reasonable place to start getting in. All right, we're really kind of seeing some of the crazy frothiness. Now that being said, I love what I'm seeing on the weekly chart. Yeah, let's see, Nick. Looking for a few good days for a short SQQQ. Yeah, keep watching it. Keep watching. I do think it's close. And so you wonder if bulls can break the SPY and they have to they have to halt it. Man, I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. But as I was saying, if we look at the weekly chart, and this is Carvana, it's just an example of what I'm seeing out there. This is a fantastic move, as we all know. It came right into weekly support. It even came into monthly support, and it's making new highs. Absolutely fantastic. But at some point, it's going to have to take a break. And I'm ready for it, because whenever it takes a break, I do think these things are going to continue. So we just have to be patient and realize that right now is not the best place to be getting long and full steam ahead on some of these things. So let's take a little bit off, let the market come back down, settle in, and then let's look for the next move. But based on what I'm seeing here, you tell me, does Carvana look like it's done going down? Does Carvana look like this thing is trying to actually resume its uptrend? I would say so. And I am seeing it from a lot of different stocks out there. And I think I think that's why 2024 should be a pretty good year, because a lot of these things have basically fixed their bear condition. I mean, look at these. This is what I'm talking about. If you look at Carvana, the peak was, I guess, August of 2021. And so then it's taken all this time. We're in August 2022, kind of got close to bottoming. And now here we are past August of 2023. It's been 2 years for our Carvana to come down, start to correct, and we're now starting to move back up and make new highs. And so, yeah, I think that these bear markets are over. I think these names are starting to come back. And honestly, if you look at the volume has been pretty accurate. Where was the big volume spike? At the low. Where was the next big volume spike? At the transition. So I think a lot of funds and institutions have probably put their chips on the table and have really loaded up on this stuff, and they're doing well. I mean, you think about it, Carvana basically from the lows is up 600%, 650%. Wow, isn't that nice? Yeah. So, and there could be more to go. Eventually this thing could maybe come back up here to the the weekly 200, monthly 50. That's another 117%. So there's still possibility, there's still room to go to the upside on these things, but we just have to be patient and wait for the right stuff. Yeah, the VIX, we know the VIX is super low. Yep. Of course, it can stay there for a while. Look here, it stayed there for a while. Stayed there for a little while. Even here, stayed there for a while, then got even lower. So yes, it's just we're having to look at these things and say, they're here, and now it's just a question of when does it matter? We just need to be aware that they're in this area. The VIX, I even noticed the UVIX started to turn up. Here's something to pay attention to. So why is the UVIX starting to move up when the market is still moving up? A little bit of a head scratcher there, huh? So yeah, I think that's something we need to pay attention to. And there's going to be more. So guys, I'm with you for, I'm going to be signing off here pretty soon here from Facebook and YouTube. What I'm going to do is I have the options room, in which we're also going to be in the Moxie room as well, starting at 11:30 Central. So those of you who are in Moxie and we're going to be in the options room, I got a lot more things I want to show you guys because I'm seeing some particular patterns. If anybody knows me talking about the duckbill pattern, we're starting to see the duckbill pattern show up on the hourly chart for the SPY. Okay, so we're going to go into that a little bit more. Let's see. Make sure I answered any kind of question. Oh yeah, Tilray and Blink. Tilray has kind of been, oh wow, nice move. Yeah, Tilray, I covered this in my weekly video. Tilray has basically been the only cannabis stock that actually is keeping up. CGC just did a reverse split. Cron kind of hanging out there. What, ACB was another one, just kind of hanging out, not doing a MSOS as far as the ETF, not doing it. MJ as another ETF, kind of not doing it. So yeah, Tilray has been the leader of the cannabis stocks, I would say. And then Blink has also, I think, started to come off the floor. Yep, just starting. Look at that. You got volume coming in here, and you can see that it's starting to come back down and test these areas. And nice little move there on the hourly chart. So yeah, brighter side, you're looking at this, and great stuff. Great stuff is starting to appear and all of that. Yeah, look at that nice double bottom right there. So if this is it, this is it. If the market's going to start going up, this is air. This is the area. No guarantees, but if Blink ends up at $7 over the next several weeks, this is where it would begin, unless it doesn't. So yeah, you've got a good eye. I've been seeing this. Blink actually made it onto my watch list as well. AU, we are already in gold miner stocks. So we're in that. We're in the leveraged ETFs. And yeah, if you look at AU, what is it doing? Put in higher lows. So on the weekly chart, it's putting in higher lows. And here, yes, it's chopping out around quite a bit, but I do think you can see the Moxie indicators up like this. I do think it's going to go. I think that there are better names though. AU is not quite getting it going. If you really want a better name, you can either use the ETF, otherwise GFI. Look at that. Wouldn't you rather be in GFI than AU? So yeah, make sure you kind of take a look around and pick the better ones. Yeah, B1, let's see. From a very long-term perspective, what do you think of XBI on the weekly? Let's see, take a look at that. Scroll out to 2014. Is it headed up to new all-time highs? Let's see. Love it when you guys ask kind of these questions. 2014. Okay, let me zoom out and let me check that out real quick. All right, let me zoom out. 2014. How many years do I have to put on that? Is that enough? That should be enough. 2014. Okay, let's see. We scroll out to 2014. Is it headed to up to all-time highs? Why does 2014 matter? What do you think on a weekly scroll out to 2014? B1, can you kind of give me a little bit more feedback on 2014? Like why does that matter? Scroll up, and then up. And the only thing I can kind of see about 2014, unless you give me an answer here, is that it's about right there. It's pretty close to the previous area. But what I would say is this looks like a double bottom. So yeah, double bottom there. And we are seeing some positive divergence on the Moxie indicator. We've got a squeeze. And I don't talk about this too much, but the DPO. So this is the DPO. I don't use it too much. It's just kind of there to actually just to keep my charts balanced. But I'm noticing that the DPO on a lot of stocks are starting to go positive. It's just about to cross positive, and you can see that it does work pretty well. Okay, nothing magic about 2014. Just kind of looking at it. So yeah, again, with everything else, we've had a heck of a move here for November and December. So I think that we could probably use a bit of a cooling off. Let's see, keep this in mind. Let's look here. There's a bit of a level right there. So I would say it's had a pretty good move up and it probably needs to start digesting this move. So this is the first move off the low. Now let's see what the retest does. Let's see if this can start to come back down someplace and actually hold support. So this is the first move. Okay, just like this was the first move, this was a first move, and this was a first move. They're all what I consider first moves. So what we need to do is, what's the pullback going to look like? What's the pullback? What's the pullback going to look like? You notice how all of these failed. All of these pullbacks failed. So now what we have to do is say, well, what does this pullback look like? Let me just give you a small example. Oops. If we look at the hourly chart, here is a pullback that did not fail. And I could argue that this pullback also did not fail, but it's not exactly showing me what I want to see. Yes, it pulled back and then went up. So yeah, that's cool. But what we're going to have to see is with the market shot up like this, like let's assume this is a daily or weekly chart. And if it can pull back a little bit and then recover and keep going up, great. That's what we want to see from the daily chart. Okay. So we want to see this thing, come down, go sideways, do something, come into support, and then we want to see it start to come back up and we want to see it make new highs. What we don't want to see is it fail and fail and fail. Okay. And this is something across the board that we need to see. We need to look for this. We need to make sure that tickers are doing this. I mean, heck, you can go back to Carvana and it's the same thing. Carvana also, look at that. Well, let me draw a smaller circle there. Failed. That was a pretty big pullback. You don't want to ride that out. What you'd be willing to do is a pullback to here, and then you want to see it continue. That was okay until it broke. So here we are at a ridiculous high altitude location that you don't really want to be dealing with. And you want to see this thing kind of come back somewhere and then hold and then come back up. And that's what you want to see. Just like this, not like that. And if we can see that with XBI or Nail or any other stock that we're looking at, we need like a pullback is necessary. We're at the point where this stuff is getting ridiculous. trade it as long as it works, but just we need to keep kind of looking around for that pullback. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen soon. All right, guys. Cool. Well, always fun chatting with you. Love it. Alan, thanks for reaching out. Man, talk about blast from the past. So thanks for reaching out. It's good to hear from you. Hope to hear from you more. Hope you're doing well out there in Denver. My wife's sister and his brother-in-law live out there. I don't know how long they're going to stay out there. He's a medical guy, so he moves around, but always a good reason to come out there again. So hope you're doing well, guys.